Hello, and in this session, we're going to have a quick overview of Power BI in Power BI Desktop. This application is available to you and is the more modern approach in the way that you present data within an organization. It's much more robust than Excel spreadsheets, which I love, but I think Power BI is perfect for any size company to have all their key performance indicators or key targets showing so that anybody with access to these reports, which are permission based, can open them any day and find the information that they need. The way that they are refreshed or updated will depend on the way that the person putting them together has set it up, and that's for another time. But it is a way of using your data which is very similar to pivot tables. So if you know pivot tables, you'll be able to learn Power BI. And if you understand Excel well and understand Power Query, then you will really find Power BI a brilliant tool. So in here, we have a fictitious company called the Winter Glove Company, the WGC. And I am putting myself in the position of somebody who wants to understand the sales of the organisation and the way that it has performed last year. So if you have a look at the screen, we are in the desktop application, not the published version. So if I were a director, I would probably just see the finished results of this in a published workspace without having all this peripheral information around me. And you can see it's very, very similar to looking at Excel charts, but they're not just sitting as objects on a sheet. They are an integral part of the page. And I've also got something called slices here. So for example, I am looking at the sales across the organisation, but I want to understand how wool gloves was. Now, if I do wool gloves, that has actually just changed automatically my charts and my graphs, and I can understand wool graphs. So without having to have lots of different graphs. And I can turn that off and I can check my thermal gloves. So what I am looking at here is how many gloves were manufactured against the customer satisfaction surveys that I've undertaken. If we look here, this is another set of charts, and it's looking at profit by months, and it's stacked to show the different sorts of glove types. So I can understand if I hover over and look at the legend, what gloves are selling better in what months, of course. All of these are put together through using visualizations. And there is more to Power BI than these standard charts, but it's a good way to start with what you know already, and then you can start to bring in additional functionality. This one is showing our retail shops, fictitious, of course, around the UK, and it is just showing me where they are on a map. So if you're working with people in different locations, you can actually bring in mapping and map it to the location. So if it was jobs completed around the country, you could have a nice map, and you can make the dot represent the value of those jobs if you wanted to. So you can see here, this is by the shop data, and this is my revenue. And I've got a couple of boxes that just give me those totals that I can look at. But I think that you'll agree with me that when you look at these reports, even although we have got a table here, it's much easier for people to understand and work with that data than going through all the underlying information that's gone into the spreadsheet sitting behind it, or it could come from another data source. So this is just giving me my marketing employees and how they're doing. And you start by taking the data from particular sources. So if you wanted to understand what a Power BI report could give you above Excel, there's a lot more functionality in here that we can explore. But it does give you the information like pivot tables that you bring into your visualizations. So hopefully you'll see the benefit of using Power BI. See you next time.